Well, it's that time of year again. That magical, wintry time when I kneel before the nativity scene and thank Christ I'm not Jewish. Christians have an all you can eat buffet of holiday specials to choose from, with new ones coming out every year. And the poor Jews are stuck with this animated abomination. You know, the one with all the reindeer literally eating poo. Of course, that's not to say that there aren't countless terrible Christmas specials out there. In fact, Sturgeon's law, that 90% of everything is garbage, seems to be undefeated. But it's the other 10% that makes digging through the trash worthwhile. Except, what makes a Christmas special good? Or any holiday special, for that matter. Whether it involves Old St. Nick, or the baby Jesus, or a different holiday altogether, in case there are any Jews listening to this trying to make a Hanukkah special that doesn't suck, there has to be some way of separating the good from the bad, right? Well, I think the first thing everyone thinks they know about holiday specials is what not to do, such as ripping off Charles Dickens and making yet another Christmas Carol. Except, even that's not a hard and fast rule, especially if the people working on a film decide to give it their all on what should have been a shameless cash grab. Maybe this has to do with the source material. Lots of people have seen a wide variety of Christmas Carol remakes, but not a ton of people have actually read the original. The Muppet version stands out for actually trying to capture the spirit of the original story, which is more than we can say for the overwhelming majority of holiday specials. But isn't it generally better to be original? Or at least come up with a story that hasn't been adapted by everyone and everything? Well, maybe. As long as you don't make another Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer. Or another Star Wars holiday special. Or another 8 Crazy Nights, come to think of it. In fact, maybe Adam Sandler's Hanukkah Horror Picture Show is where we should look for things to avoid. First, it's an Adam Sandler movie, and it's full of Adam Sandler humor. And while that probably meant something different before I was born, today it means jokes that are too inappropriate for children but too immature for adults. This movie is the cinematic equivalent of Two Girls in One Cup. Nobody enjoys watching it, they enjoy watching other people watch it for the first time. But beyond that, there's the film's attempt at a message about, what exactly were they going for? Don't be an asshole? Well, that'd be an easier message to sell if all-around jerkishness weren't the defining trait of most of the cast. Even Whitey, the one guy in the film without a mean bone in his body, kind of undermines that point with how awful his life turned out to be. The fact that his entire town doesn't appreciate him kind of implies that not being an asshole is even worse. There's also the argument to be made that this film doesn't really have anything to do with Hanukkah. Or anything else relating to Judaism, for that matter. Literally, the only connection is that a lot of the characters are Jewish, and it doesn't even seem like they're practicing Jews either. You could make a movie about Jewish people summoning a golem to protect them from a pogrom in the middle of winter, and that would make for a better Hanukkah movie. That actually brings me to a weird theme that shows up in a lot of holiday specials. Violence. Lots and lots of holiday violence. You can argue about whether or not Die Hard counts as a Christmas movie all you want, but the Home Alone movies are like if someone took a slasher film and turned it into fun for the whole family. How many times over would Marv and Harry have died in the first film if it were real life? The paint cans alone should have been fatal. It doesn't stop it from being one of everyone's favorites. Speaking of everyone's favorites, I have yet another confession to make. I don't like the Charlie Brown Christmas special anymore. Yes, I am aware this is tantamount to blasphemy in many Christian communities across America, but hear me out. First, this little cartoon criticizing the commercialism of Christmas has become the most commercialized Christmas special ever. Say what you will about the Rankin and Bass movies, at least they didn't become their own antithesis. And it's not just the commercialism. Everyone I know who says they love this one focus on Linus's speech about the birth of Christ, and how that's the true meaning of the holiday, and how it gets lost in the trappings of the season. But the scene itself is literally just Linus quoting a Bible passage by memory. There's no emotion, there's no application, there's no acts of kindness, there's just memorization, which is the lowest form of learning. The Charlie Brown Christmas has become a new set of trappings that distract people from any kind of deeper meaning in the holiday. And that's why I can't stand it anymore. It became what it set out to destroy. Another common story beat for holiday specials is where someone has to deliver the presents for Santa. And despite how many times this idea has been driven into the ground, there are still some really good ones out there. And it's weird how the best ones involve a skeleton dressing up like Santa and trying to do his job for him. Like, if I had a nickel for every amazingly well-done movie about a skeleton filling in for Santa...
I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice, right?
And what do Hogfather and The Nightmare Before Christmas have in common? Well, Jack Skellington is a guy who's enamored with the idea of Christmas but doesn't understand it, and he nearly ruins it in the process. Jack is a stand-in for people who get so wrapped up in the surface-level trappings of the holiday that he doesn't notice what any of these things actually mean. And as I've mentioned with the Charlie Brown Show, those trappings don't have to be presents or tinsel. And over on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, Hogfather is about death itself trying to save the holiday, and it turns out the Grim Reaper understands exactly what the holiday season means on a grander level, but he still struggles with getting the trappings right because he views humanity as a whole, throughout millennia, and he doesn't always stay up to date with current traditions.
This is wrong. It is unfair.
Well, that's life, isn't it, Master, eh?
But I'm not.
As a general rule, if a story makes you think about things you didn't notice before, or changes your outlook on life in general, that's usually a sign that it's a good story. And that applies to holiday specials as much as it applies to everything else. And it's on that note that I believe the best Christmas special is the community episode Abed's Uncontrollable Christmas. I will die on this hill. If you haven't seen it, well, you should at least watch the first few episodes of Community so you can understand who the characters are. But once you've done that, you'll understand why this holiday special is so special. It's not just a shameless cash grab, or an attempt to crap out a Christmas episode before the holiday season. It's a stop-motion analysis on how people invest too much of the idea of meaning into the holidays with no real payoff, but the holiday can still hold meaning if you really want it to. The rituals matter, because they require us to take time out of our busy lives and actually think about the people we care about and make plans. Because the rituals are almost never things that you do alone, and when the people you spend the holidays with decide not to show up, like Abed's mom moving on to a new family and a new life, that hurts. And it's not the meaning we invest into the holidays or the rituals. It's not the trappings, or the commercialism, or the Black Friday shopping sprees. Only people can let us down. But reality doesn't always win. Belief can warp reality in strange ways. We can make new rituals with new people.
I get it. The meaning of Christmas is the idea that Christmas has meaning, and it can mean whatever we want. For me, it used to mean being with my mom. Now it means being with you guys.
I am not even going to try to pad this video out. I'd like to leave you on that note, but I do have a few announcements to make. First, I know I usually do a trope analysis around this time of the month, but I wanted to put this one out before the holidays. Don't worry, we'll discuss giant robots on the 27th. I also wanted to let people know that I'm considering dividing my second book into 2 parts. The Power of Belief turned out longer than I wanted, and it's more expensive than I would have liked. The complete second book will still be available, but soon I'd like to give you the option to buy the book in parts. Particularly if $30 is too much to pay for a single fantasy novel. And finally, today's featured game is called Tiny Glade. It's supposed to be a cozy drawing game in which you can draw your own medieval town. Not only do I personally find that kind of game boring as hell, but I can't really recommend it to anyone who does like this sort of drawing simulator. Why not? Well, the interface needs some work, and you don't have a lot of options. I know I was only playing the demo version, but the options that are visibly hidden behind the demo lock symbol don't seem to include a wide variety of features. But the biggest red flag for me about this game is the fact that foliage and other features appear to show up randomly when you try to place a window, or a building, or a lantern. Random flowers, bushes, or other things that you didn't mean to place will show up here and there, which ruins the purpose of a game about drawing your own village. Simply put, the lack of actual control you have over a game like this ruins the purpose of the game. Maybe there are some people for whom that amount of randomness is the right amount of conflict. It is supposed to be a cozy game, and by default it's not for me. Problems with reviewing a game from a genre you don't really like, I guess. Alright, that's all I have for you today. Thank you all, and goodbye.